Not only are you bad, you're hurting me. And do you see? This is why you're shit. Were words that were rumoured that Messi had apparently thrown at Vitinha on the training ground in Paris, and where Neymar had apparently insulted and berated him after losing a game against Monaco. But how did it come to this? What happened? And how did PSG and Vitinha end up proving these football legends wrong? Let's take a look. After being declined to be purchased for €20 million by Wolverhampton after a loan season in the Premier League, Vitinha returned to the club that had shaped him, Porto. Being managed by Sergio Conceição, who had only subbed the midfielder on a few times and only when it was past the 70th minute 2 seasons prior, he had found new faith in him after reaching the Under-21 European Cup final in Germany. And boy did that pay off. Vitinha slowly started to fit in and was taking the game into his own hands, becoming an indispensable cog in Porto's midfield and leading them to victory after victory. And it didn't go unnoticed, having won the league with a record 91 points and the Portuguese Cup. Vitinha was named in the Primeira Liga Team of the Year and awarded the Primeira Liga Best Young Player of the Year. Wolves must have been on their knees, screaming about how could they let this kind of talent slip through their fingers. But now, as the summer transfer market had opened, Liverpool were looking for reinforcements in their midfield. But according to Fabrizio Romano, they didn't want anything to do with the Portuguese and apparently only wanted to sign Tchouaméni and Bellingham, no other players. Which was just perfect for Luis Campos, PSG strategic advisor, who had made him PSG's priority target and wanted to sign him no matter what. And so that's what they did. Vitinha became PSG's first transfer that summer, joining the dominant French side for €41.5 million. And Vitinha was a breath of fresh air. PSG, instead of breaking the bank as usual and signing football superstars, the Parisians had decided to take a new approach and sign young talents who had not hit their prime yet, with his Portuguese teammate Nuno Mendes following suit, but also players like Carlos Soler and Hugo Ekitike. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses for long. After a promising start under the management of Galtier, Mbappe was the first superstar to throw a tantrum because of the midfielder. As you can see in this clip, Vitinha was on attack when they faced Montpellier and ignored the call to pass the ball to Mbappe. Instead, he decided to go down the right-hand wing and pawned the ball to Messi. But that wasn't good enough for Mbappe. He just stopped playing and stood still at the halfway line. But just because Vitinha passed the ball to Messi, that didn't mean they got along either. Vitinha's performances were just not seen as good enough. And if you're playing with the best, they expect the best. And even though Messi isn't known as a diva, he got into a spat with Vitinha on the training ground, apparently believing that Vitinha was the embodiment of the average players that PSG had signed that summer window, and according to the L'Equipe, told the midfielder, "Not only are you bad, you're hurting me. And do you see? This is why you're shit." And to make it a hat trick, Neymar also had issues with Vitinha, which came to light after suffering a 3-1 loss against Monaco. In front of the whole team, Neymar went off on Vitinha and Ekitike for not passing the ball into the correct areas and for poor decision making in front of the goal. And on top of that, it was also rumoured by the L'Equipe that Neymar had also apparently been bullying the Portuguese, but Vitinha had declined the rumours because he's a nice guy. Take that with a pinch of salt, lol. Anyways, PSG still went on to win the league that year, but over the summer, many changes took place. Luis Enrique joined PSG as their new manager, and 2 of the 3 big superstars had decided to chase that bag, one in Miami and the other in Saudi Arabia. And after a phenomenal start to the Ligue and the Champions League, it didn't take long for Vitinha to gain Enrique's trust, which he would repay him by winning Man of the Match award on the first match day of the Champions League, and started making a name for himself in France as well as on the international stage. And Vitinha would start controlling games, excelling in his deep-lying midfield role, and even scoring in both legs in the Champions League quarter-finals against Barcelona to win 6-4 on aggregate, even though they went out against Dortmund in the next stage. Vitinha was on fire and started to receive appraisal from legends of the game and ended up winning the domestic treble, along with being named in the Ligue 1 Team of the Year and Champions League Team of the tournament. On top of that, after having won against Olympique Lyon to seal the Coupe de France, which was Mbappe's last dance for PSG, and Dembele scoring a vital goal in the final, Luis Enrique decided to praise one player in particular. For me, Vitinha was undoubtedly our player of the season. If you add up his quality on the ball, his aggressiveness and his ability to defend, he is our best player. All of our players here are good, but Vitinha is exceptional. But now, with all the, well, nearly all the egos having departed the Stade de Prince, Vitinha continued his form. This season, Vitinha didn't just have dominating performances in the Champions League, but also in all domestic competitions. Being deemed as the deep conductor, praised as the perfect midfielder, and after having knocked Liverpool out of the Champions League, Thierry Henry went on to say that he's playing a different sport, controlling the tempo and the rhythm of the game that no one else can do at this very moment. And yet, obviously, we all know the beatdown that PSG gave Inter in the final, securing PSG's first ever quadruple in history, but he was also selected in the Champions League and Ligue 1 Team of the Season again, and just last week he lifted the UEFA Nations League trophy with Portugal scoring a penalty. I would definitely class this as a win over the superstar divas in my book. Having extended his contract in February to stay with the Parisians until 2029, it's looking like Vitinha's chapter at the capital is far from over yet. But what do you think? Should Vitinha receive the Ballon d'Or for putting the strings in the midfield this year? Or will it be Dembele, Yamal, Salah, who have been the goal-scoring machines of Europe? Comment what you think, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, it really does help, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. See you in the next one, bye!